Hi guys, so today I'll be talking about the three main points that the creators of the documentary want to bring across to the viewers. So I'll just go ahead and say all three. My first one is the Tough on Drugs movement and the Say No to Drugs movement and how that wasn't effective. My second point is issues with state and local law enforcement involving the drug market. And my third point was different successful ways of lowering substance usage. So back to my first point. The Tough on Drugs movement was not successful, clearly, and the Say No to Drugs movement also wasn't effective because there's much more that goes into it than just saying no to drugs. If you want to use drugs, you're going to find a way to use them regardless. So at the beginning of the video, they kind of started with the previous presidents we've had and politicians and their efforts to kind of battle the war on drugs and their strategies to reduce, obviously not being effective. The alcohol probation movement also wasn't successful because if a big chunk of people in the U.S. want to use a substance, it's really hard to eliminate that, so it's difficult. But the war against marijuana hasn't been effective at all because the daily usage of the substance for 18-year-olds are the highest they've been today in 30 years. And again, this could be for a multitude of reasons, whether that be mental health, which I think has a lot to do with it, environmental factors, family factors, whatever it could be, genetics. It's increasing rapidly. On the other hand, heroin usage has remained the same for decades and hasn't really changed a whole lot. There were also areas in California that were raided, specifically marijuana dispensaries, and people were handcuffed and criminalized and all that, which brings me to my next point, being the issues with state and local law enforcement involving the drug market. So the state and local law enforcement should stay out of the drug enforcement business in general and get back to just protecting the community and people. The feds were raiding more medical marijuana dispensaries now than they did in 2012 when Bush was president, which is crazy because it was already proven to not be effective. So don't know why they did it again. The state government started to they are currently becoming more and more militarized every day because the federal government encourages them to use SWAT teams. They are bribed by the federal government to drive the drug enforcement effort, which I think it does need to be on more of a state level, but I don't think it needs to be this big war on it, especially for marijuana. And just in my opinion, I feel like police priority has definitely been twisted from like actual violent crimes to these lower level substance offenses, which doesn't really need to be in jail cells for. Hundreds of thousands of non-violent Americans are currently in prison for drug involved crimes, which is a big number of Americans being locked up for this. My third point is the successful ways of lowering substance usage, and they went on about this, and in the video it mentioned that they didn't need to send anyone to prison or fire a shot to lower the consumption and do this. I think it really points out that criminalizing substances won't decrease the consumption or supply and demand at all. There are tons of drugs in prison, so sending people to prison for drugs won't help them become any less addicted or keep it out of their hands, because there's a way. I think the main purpose of the video was to share that none of these are working. Like, we need to educate the people on the harmful effects because that's what we did for nicotine and tobacco, and it's decreasing rapidly. And that's all I have.